Good evening, everybody. My name is Frank Salas. I go by the name The Talented Mr. Salas, where I growth hack social media to work for you. I'm an outsourcing expert to the Philippines, where one US American dollars is 50 Filipino pesos. And I'd like for you to hire me as your chief outsourcing officer so you can work on your business as opposed to work in your business. By the way, I also sell real estate specifically to investors and investor clientele here in sunny Austin, Texas, where our average cap rate is 8.25%. Would love to serve you in real estate. But tonight we're talking about how to book paid speaking gigs at a minimum of 5 figures from somebody who's founded a speaking academy and a speaking school, Miss Amber Aziza. And by the way, guys, Amber Aziza is my Periscope mama, and she is the first person that got me on a podcast. So this is a huge honor for me to have this full circle, to have her on my show. Amber, tell the fine folk about yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Amber Aziza. As Frank said, I am the founder of asquarecoach.com and millionaireclub.com, as well as the 5-Figure Speech Academy. I am a 7-figure business coach, so I help my clients hit 7 figures in their business and beyond. I help them build the businesses of their dreams, speak their passion, and live the lifestyle that would make Carrie Bradshaw jealous. And my belief is that if you can make $1, you can make 1,000,000 of them. Need the right resources and the right guidance from someone who's done it before. So that is who I am.
That's phenomenal. When I first started just being introduced to Amber, she was like, if you can make $1, you can make 1,000,000. And I was like, well, I made a few dollars, so I definitely need to get some millions. So let's talk about making some dollars in the speaking business. Tell everybody about your speaking career right now.
Yeah, so I only take about 10 to 15 speaking gigs a year. 2016, I only took 12. And my belief is that I don't get out of bed in the morning for less than $5,000 to go and speak somewhere. And if that's the case, it better be local and you better be sending me a driver. And if I have to actually get on a plane, then your price goes up to 5 figures. Oftentimes people they call themselves speakers. I don't believe you can call yourself a real speaker until you've actually been paid to do what you do. And it's just like a business coach. You're not really a business coach unless you've been paid to actually coach someone and have gotten results. And so I've been speaking for, oh boy, I'm about to show my age. I have been speaking for 13 years now.
Nice.
So I've been in the game since I was like 5. But I love speaking. I speak about foster care and the benefits to it, to being a foster parent to children. I talk about how to engage millennials both in the workplace and in the marketplace. I spend a lot of time talking about entrepreneurship, empowerment of women of color. So I have spoken with organizations, or 2 organizations, like United Health Group, Kaiser Permanente, Pepsi Cola. I've spoken to the guys at Target. I've talked to, I've had speeches and presentations and trainings with organizations like Ford Motor Company. So I've been around the block, the speaking block, so to say.
Mhm.
And I love it. I love talking and I love speaking my thoughts. And I love it when people have no choice but to listen. So speaking was like right up my alley.
That's amazing. So for somebody who is just now getting into the online business, or maybe they've been in business offline and they're like, you know what, I can talk. People like to know what I listen about. I'm an expert. What's the first steps? How do you first get started into the speaking game?
The first thing you need to do is narrow down what your signature topic is going to be. So many times people give this long list. It's just like a business. People give this long list of things they could talk about. And it's like, that's fabulous. But you need to be known for something, not just being a jack of all trades. For speaking. So you really have to narrow it down. The second thing I would say you need to do is determine who you actually want to speak to. Everyone isn't your audience, just like everyone isn't your client.
Mhm.
And so determining what types of audiences, what butts do you want to see in those seats? And then forming those relationships. I would say that 60% of public speaking at the high figure level is all about your ability to network. If you are not a person who's good at networking, you're not going to book 5-figure speeches. You're not going to get $10,000 to speak anywhere, because a lot of that is built upon the relationships you've created through your networking.
That's awesome. And so if let's say one of us gets either a volunteer position, a non-paid position, or even a paid position, and we go to a speaking event, what's the first thing we should, or who's the first person we should meet?
So if you go to a speaking event, the first person you should meet is the organizer. The organizer is the gatekeeper of any event. That's the first person that you want to go to, even if you're not speaking. So if you're at a conference, say for example, and you aren't a speaker, you're just attending it, find out who's organizing it and then invite them to lunch. Let me tell you, they're going to be crazy busy during that time. But if you plan to add an extra day to your trip at the end and then say, hey, you know what? I know things are crazy now. When the conference is done, I'd love to take you for coffee. I'd love to take you for a drink. Trust me, by doing this, this is really letting them know that you're not just in this just to kind of distract them from their conference game, but that you genuinely want to connect with them. So absolutely find the organizer, and most conferences have multiple organizers. So if you can find one or two, meet up with them, invite them to coffee, have a conversation with them, and make the conversation memorable. And when you do that, you will be able to leverage that connection later on down the road for a speaking gig.
Okay, I meet a guy. You and I were at the Periscope Summit. That's where we met in San Francisco in January. And you and I would meet the conference. Obviously, you were speaking. And for somebody like me, who that was my first conference in social media, if I would go out there and meet somebody there, let's say 6 months from now, I know the people that ran that. What would be my first thing to say to those people?
So if you're reaching out to them and you've already talked to them once, you've already had that touch point, as long as you've been regularly reaching out to them, like just chatting normal stuff, then it's perfectly acceptable to say, hey, I know that you guys are probably in the midst of planning, and I am super excited about next year's event. Was hoping that I could talk to you about this really neat concept I have for a program for the conference. Um, don't say a speech, because people genuinely, organizers, they don't like to hear the word speech. They think it's a lecture. They don't want to hear somebody who's going to come and lecture. They want to hear someone that's going to come and be innovative. They want to hear someone that's going to come and get the room moving and get the room thinking. They want speakers who are going to fill those seats. And you saying, I'm going to come and talk about the global economy, that's not going to make an organizer want to book you. What will make an organizer want to book you is you saying, you know what, I've got this really neat concept for a global economy and I really want to share it with them. I've got these amazing activities that I've thrown in with it, and I think I can get it down to about an hour or 45 minutes. And I'd love to talk to you about how we can make this particular event that you're hosting the first place that experiences my event, my mini event. Okay, so look at it like as if it's your own event that you're hosting, and look at what the buy-in is for the organizers.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Okay, let's say you you reach out to some people. It doesn't work out too well, but you're in your hometown. You're adamant. You're taking action. You know, what's another strategy that you can take to start your speaking career?
Think outside the box. So many times, and I'm gonna so I'm gonna give you guys some free advice here. All right, you ready? Hope you got your pens, because this is such, like, I just had a conversation with a really well-known speaker this morning, and she just like mind blown when I told her this. Stop going to conferences to look for speaking gigs. They're not going to pay you unless you're the keynote. Okay, so conferences aren't the place to start searching for paid speaking gigs. You know where are the places? Schools, high schools, middle schools, universities, corporations, going to your local church, going to your local nonprofit. Nonprofits have huge budgets each year to bring in trainers and workshops and different experiences. So stop looking kind of in the box. And if you're in your hometown, go and reach out to some of your local organizations. Go and reach out to some of the businesses that are headquartered in your area. Go and reach out to the bigger churches in your area. And what you will be able to find is that those are going to be the organizations that are completely willing to pay you to come and drop your knowledge, or your diamonds, as Frank says, onto their audience members.
I heard diamonds are a girl's best friend, Amber.
They are such a girl's best friend.
Okay, cool. One thing that I recently did is I went to the Chamber of Commerce here in Austin, Texas. I went to their tech people and I said, hey, do you guys know what growth hacking is? And they're like, no. It's like, do you know what ghost codes is? They're like, no. Do you know what live stream is? It's like, no. It's like, well, I happen to be an expert in all of those. Do you guys have a budget for speakers? And they said, yes, we do. However, we've already allocated that budget for this year. And unfortunately, because I'm a 5-figure speaker, because I follow everything Amber Aziza says, that they couldn't afford me this year and they would like to book me for the next year. So I didn't know people had like cycles when they did that. So can you break that down for everybody?
Absolutely. So organizations plan their events in cycles. So they plan them all in one lump sum. They're not just sitting around waiting for someone to show up and speak to their organization. Some organizations plan a year or 2 years out. So the prime time to hit up organizations is actually September through October, because that's when they're starting to look for the next year's speakers. I booked speaking engagements all the way into the beginning of 2018. That's how far out some organizations will book, especially international gigs. I have a speaking gig in Dubai in January of 2018 because that's how far out they booked that event. So it really is about knowing when the best time to strike is. And the best time is honestly September through October, because that is when they're planning for the next year.
I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that. A lot of people who are listening to this are, becoming speakers for the first time, and a nonprofit, a corporation, even an association might seem like a little scary for someone that maybe has never even done any type of cold calling, any type of, going out to people like that. What are some tips that you can have to maybe put people at ease and get more comfortable when it comes to doing something that is normal? It's like a janitor. It's like the mailman. It's like the guy delivering water. It's like the coffee people. It's like the shredder people. It's like just another part of the business. Can you maybe break that down a little bit further for everybody in the audience?
Absolutely. So I think, guys, the biggest thing that you need to remind yourself of is that this is, like Frank said, another part of your business. This is another leg of your business. So when you're reaching out and doing the cold calling, automate as much as you can. That my boy Frank has taught me so much about automation. I'm like, you can automate that? But automate as much as you can. Find organizations that are really kind of primed for needing help. So here's an example. And my mother, who's visiting me this week, heard me explain this to someone else this morning. And she, when I hung up, she said, "That's just awful." I'm like, "No, Mom, it's business." So here's the deal. Organizations for example, I have a client who she focuses on diversity in the workplace. She's an expert in diversity in the workplace. She's been pulled by Barack Obama to host various workshops in the White House. She's amazing. So, but she wasn't getting paid to do any speaking engagements or workshops. So I told her, reach out to Wells Fargo, Fifth Third Bank, all of the organizations who just got slammed by the fair labor laws and by all of the various fair lending laws because they weren't giving loans to African Americans. That's the people you need to be reaching out to, because you are a diversity expert and you need to say, hey, you have a problem, I have a solution. So when you're reaching out to cold calls, don't just cold call like just going through the phone book, but actually have a purpose. Know why you're reaching out to them specifically, and then reach out to them with what you know their issue is and how you can solve it. And that is going to get you the gig a lot better than just hitting 1,000 different organizations and hoping that one or two will reach out to you.
That was a diamond right there. That's phenomenal. That was phenomenal. Okay. So we're talking about getting 5-figure speaking gigs. I did a blab yesterday about getting paid speaking gigs with one of my tribe members, Sterling Speaks, who has her own tribe as well. And after that blab, I had 3 people inbox me saying, I would like to hire you for a speaking gig. And I was like, okay, cool. How much are you guys paying? And they were below 5 figures. And like you said, I was like, oh, well, I'm in Austin. I wouldn't be able to make it for that fee. This is my fee. Let me know if you want to move forward. And that's because I've been doing this for a very long time and I've been in that world. And I'm sure you have offers like that all the time. But if somebody for the first time says, I would like to, pay you, and they get a paid offer, where do they start from there? How can they value their price? What does the average speaker go for? What does like that market rate go for?
That's a hard That's a hard kind of number to give simply because so many people call themselves speakers.
Hmm.
And I say speakers in quotes because as I said, you're really not a speaker if you haven't been paid for it.
Hmm.
That's like saying you're a doctor, but you've never actually performed any surgeries or never actually examined any human patients. So I would say that a good starting rate is based upon what are you losing time wise. Because see, when you go to speak at an organization, it's not just that hour or hour and a half or 45 minutes that you're on stage. You also have to look at how much travel time to and from, how many potential clients you could have worked with during that time, especially if you're either a freelancer or you are a solopreneur. You have to look at all of that and then add that up. And then whatever number feels right in your soul based upon that information, that's the number that you need to go with. So I would say that there's not really a set number, but you really have to know your business and you really have to understand what you are missing out on to go and speak to someone's organization.
That's phenomenal advice. I'm going to switch gears a little bit and maybe talk about being on stage and selling from the stage, or maybe even just presenting the stage. Like, what do you talk about? So everyone's like, yeah, I want to be a paid speaker. They get a paid speaking gigs. They're like, oh, I've got to perform now. I've got to deliver. So how do you deliver?
So to deliver, you have to really have just one thing, and that's audience engagement. People will not remember what shoes you wore, what dress you wore, what pants you wore. They won't remember that your PowerPoint slide didn't work or that your Prezi didn't connect to the internet. They won't remember any of that. They'll remember how engaged they were in your program. So using systems like Pull Everywhere, where you can create engagement by simply having them pull out their cell phones, that is going to be what makes the difference between you rocking that particular speech or you bombing it. You can say, people often say, oh, well, you should go to Toastmasters because it's really helpful with the ums and the uhs and the filler words. And absolutely, I agree. I think Toastmasters, it is bomb.com for new speakers. But here's the deal. You can say and 20 million different times, but if your particular presentation was bomb.com and people are like, oh, that was amazing, I learned so much, we did so much, trust me, they're not going to care about the ums and uhs. They're going to care more about what they walked away with.
I love that. I love that. Big shout out to Toastmasters. I'm a CC, competent communicator, a 2-time president, and a 1-time sergeant at arms. And I went to Toastmasters every day or every week for 3 years. And I did public speaking and I did all my other businesses just to get my craft ready to go. And I still do ums and ahs, probably the worst in the business. But like you said, I drop knowledge, I drop fire, and I make people feel a phenomenal way after the presentation. So, okay, so that's at the presentation. During the presentation, you get that engagement. And as soon as you're about to close or you want to give somebody a call to action, like I'm sure you've had programs for sale. I'm sure you've had one-on-one coaching for sale. I'm sure you've had products for sale available, maybe even books for sale directly from the stage. How do you compel people so much to make them act on that call to action?
I give them a call to action actually at the end. So this is something that I've seen amazing speakers get on stage and they give so much knowledge and they have this tiny room, the back of the room for back of the room sales, and they never mention it. And I'm like, whoa, wait, you're leaving money on the table. What are you doing? So I actually will say, if you're interested in learning more, if you're interested in doing a deeper dive, meet me in the back of the room and I've got something for you. And usually that's something, it's just like with an online business. That something is usually a freebie or a free download that they can have. It's usually something easy that they can take home with them, that they can digest it, and then they will likely, of course, because the freebie at the end is going to say, if you love this, you're going to love this other thing, tripwire. But it will allow them to then purchase a ebook or an e-course or an experience or a retreat ticket. I've sold retreat tickets from speaking engagements where I've been paid $15,000 to stand up there and to teach them. And then at the end, I say, and if you're interested in doing a deeper dive in how to really accelerate your business, then you want to be sure to meet me in the back of the room. And then we sold 4 retreat tickets at the price of $2,500 just from that. So it really is all about just opening your mouth. Closed mouths don't get fed. My grandma always says it. And it's so true. So just simply saying it I've got something in the back of the room for you. You don't have to stand there and pitch. You don't have to stand there and sell, but tell them to meet you in the back of the room. And if you've made it engaging enough, they will be there in the back of the room waiting for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I have a lot of experience selling from the stage. So during the presentation, I just have a bunch of points where I'm like, this is really good value. These are high value thoughts that are going to exchange with your low value thoughts and whatever it is that we're talking about. And if you're tired of your life being in this low value thought and would like to have these high value thoughts, whatever that may be, cooking, sewing, social media growth hacking, outsourcing, real estate, investing, whatever that is, if you would like to have high value thoughts right now where you have low value thoughts and whatever that may be, and you're tired of having low value thoughts on a consistent basis, you're tired of looking at YouTube videos, you're tired of reading things, and you want to make that change, come meet me in the back of the room. And I will pepper stuff like that in my presentation. I will also show testimonials of people that I've worked with, and I say, here's Omi Sanchez at Dirty Sailor Girl with the Dirty Sailor Fleet. 30 days ago, she didn't have a tribe, but she has a tribe now, and she's now being featured on the first live stream home shopping network. Here's Omi now on the home shopping network. If you would like to stop where your business is at and do these kinds of things, reach out to me and come see me in the back of the room. So maybe can you give people a little bit more examples of how you compel them? I know a lot of this stuff is in your programs, but let's get some diamonds at you.
Absolutely. So I would say that the simplest way to do it is when you are talking at the beginning, right? As soon as you get on the stage, I always tell people never say your name on stage because clearly people know who you are. They're there to see you. But instead, give them the why you should listen to me. And when you're giving the why you should listen to me, you should have some slides or a prezi in the background that's giving those testimonies. And you're saying, I've had this experience and I've had this and I've had that. And that is why today we are all going to go through this experience together, and it is going to be amazing. So you're just simply, as you said, planting the seed. You are just simply telling them, hey, this is my background, because it is. I see Dr. Finch is in the room. Dr. Finch is actually one of my favorite clients. But one of the things I would say is go up there, and when you say you're Dr. Finch, you say why you're Dr. Finch, how you got to be Dr. Finch, why people listen to you, why do you have 20,000 Twitter followers, and explaining that and establishing from the beginning why they should listen to you is essentially giving them your sales pitch without having to say, buy now, right? So beginning, when you're giving your bio, when you're giving your background, that's when you should be sliding that in. And then when you're talking and you're explaining, because you should always try to stay in your area of expertise. When you are explaining your expertise, or when you're giving them a nugget and you're explaining to them how to do something, throw in, my client so-and-so did this and she had X amount results. And then move on. And trust me, it's just planting seeds. And then at the end, you're watering them. And trust me, those flowers are going to walk their way to the back of the room.
I love that. We have a question from Marcia White. Her handle is TSI Girl. She's a Southerner by default and a Yankee by birth. She is into HGTV and she's a Food Network lover. Her job is she's a relationship marketing specialist and a gratitude guru via send out cards. She's a solopreneur, and she asked, what about starting off with a story, which is the general formula with TED Talks?
Right. So you can start off with a story as long as it's a story that's related to what you're talking about. I've seen so many people try to do the TED Talk method, and TED Talks are TED Talks for a reason. The whole platform is a story. The whole speech is you telling this story or this experience. If you're going to lead with it, you want to be sure that there is a full-blown transition there, that it's not just, and that's how I was able to get my dog to go potty outside. So now let's talk about astrophysics. What? Like, no, I'm so confused. And then also make sure it's not too kitschy. That's something that's really, that's kind of like, when people say the nails on the chalkboard, when people are giving a story and it's so corny and it's so predictable and it's just like, oh, if it's making the audience member squirm or making them look like, oh, this is just torture, then don't do it. I would say here's a better way, in my opinion, to start a speech, is to simply say a word or a sentence and pause. Okay. So for example, one of my speaking clients, um, she's a prayer coach. She helps you really develop your prayers and feel a better connection to what you're saying, what you're putting out to God. And so every speech she starts with praying to God and then leaves a pause. Enough of a silence for people to be like, what is that like, what's going on? And it's just, how many of us do that? So saying a sentence or a word with a pause to catch their attention, and then following it up with a question that they can answer immediately and quickly. That's a really great way to capture their attention without having to come up with a story that'll match whatever it is you're talking about.
That's great. That's phenomenal advice. I want to maybe stay on the same page and talk about TED Talks now. I recently found out, I believe it was through you, that you can throw your own TED Talks. Like you can throw your own
Yes.
TED conferences. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
So you can throw your own TED Talk. You have to submit the paperwork and apply through it, and you have to follow the regulations. But you can do it as a TEDx. So you often see all of these different people who say, yeah, I did a TEDx talk. That TEDx talk was organized by an independent group of organizers in conjunction with TED. So they are following the rules. And let me tell you, it is not an easy feat. They are very specific about what they want you to do and what you cannot do. I've helped several clients with starting their own. I always recommend, don't just try to do it on your own. Get some other people to help you. Get a board together that can really help you put on a great talk. But as long as you are within their guidelines and you're following their restrictions, and if you go to the TED Talk website, they actually have a page dedicated to teaching you everything you need to know to organize your own. But if you feel like, you know what, this is what I want to do, go for it. It is an amazing experience. I think that it's a really great service to the community that you're in, because it allows people to not just learn, but to engage in a totally different manner and to really discover new methods and new platforms and new ways of learning. So I have nothing but good things to say about TED Talks and TEDx Talks.
Definitely, definitely. I know you've been doing this for a long time, for about 13 years or so. And I've been doing speaking for about 7 years now myself. And I have had some funny instances, and everybody might be listening to us be like, oh, Amber's amazing. She can speak like whatever. And Frank has a golden mouthpiece and he can speak like this. But you and I have had so many times of not failing, but learning very hard lessons in real time. Can you maybe share some of your lessons that you've learned in the speaking business?
Oh, yeah. So I would say my biggest lesson learned is know your audience. But don't just know them, like know them. So quick story. I actually went to speak to a group of accountants. And I was like, okay, I've got this. This is totally fine. So I go in, I've got my presentation. I'm talking about engaging millennials so that they will want to join your accounting firm. And so in my mind, I'm killing it. And so then I decide to make a joke. And I say, how do you know, I said, how do you know a CPA is an extrovert? And I said, they look at other people's shoes instead of their own. Totally fell flat. They all just kind of looked at me like mean mugging. And I was just like, oh gosh, that was awful. So that was like, okay, strike one. Then I'm going into detail about, engaging millennials and how it's really important for your firm. And I'm just going on and on and on. And I end, and I'm looking at the crowd and I'm just seeing question marks. So I keep asking, what questions do you have? What questions do you have? Because I'm just like, something's not right. I get off the stage. One of the organizers pulls me to the side and says, Amber, these aren't people who are independent, like firm accountants. These are federal accountants who work for the U.S. Department of Treasury. But they didn't have that as their name. It was something totally different. It was some organization within the U.S. Department of Treasury. So
Nice.
I felt totally, I felt totally crazy, and awful. And I volunteered to, do it again at no cost. And they actually brought me back the next year, which was shocking, because even I was like, really? Are you sure? But knowing who your audience is, knowing who's sitting in the seats, and not just, oh, I know the name and I know, what this organization does, but really asking the organizer, what are the key takeaways they want to have? What is the thing that drives the most? Who are these people? That really would have helped me in that scenario. So from now on, that's like all a part of the questionnaire.
Definitely. That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. So now let's maybe wrap up just a little bit. If I'm somebody who is not speaking right now, but I have all the passion, all the energy in the world, and I'm like, you know what? I would love to be flown out to Dubai in January of 28. I'm not even doing that. Amber, Amber's next level, guys. If
You'll have to come with me. You'll have to come with, at this point, I've invited like 30 people with me. You'll have to come with me.
so, how do we get started? How do we make that path? What's like the next step? What's an action item that we can do?
Action item, get your marketing together. Just like your business, no one's going to buy from you or hire you if they don't know you're there. Get your marketing together, get a web page together, get a speaker one sheet ready. A speaker one sheet is like a resume for speaking. Get your speaker reel together. And if you've never spoken before and you're brand new, get a promo reel, which is just you speaking over some stock video and explaining what you talk about. So get all of that on point, and then you'll be ready to conquer the world. And then I would also say, get in some experience in speaking in front of audiences. The last thing you want to do is promote yourself. I've had clients who their very first speaking gig was a paid one. But if you aren't comfortable speaking in front of an audience, that's not the time to find out when there's money on the line. Right. So if you've never spoken in front of an audience outside of Periscope or live streaming, then you're going to want to stand on a stage somewhere and speak to a live audience to see if that's really your jam.
That's absolutely phenomenal advice, Amber. I definitely would love to maybe end up the interview with any kind of question that anybody might have. And as we're there, Amber, I am a speaker right now, but I also sell real estate, and speaking takes time. And the kind of speaking that you're doing, where you're going to Dubai and getting paid a very handsome reward, I would definitely love to have more of that. But what I keep getting, and I know this sounds like champagne problems, but I keep getting $5,000 speeches. I keep getting $7,000 speeches. Mm-hmm. Every now and then I get a $10,000 one and I'll take it. But anything mm-hmm. less than 10,000, like you said, I'm just like, I live in Austin. I sell real estate here. One home is like 30 grand for me. I'm not trying to, be ungrateful to the opportunity, but it's like, I'm getting this opportunity. How can I level up? What's my next thing for me to do? Somebody like me.
So it's not, and my clients would tell you that Amber has never said this before in her life, but it really isn't. It's not all about that, the hitting that 5 figures. Sometimes there are other benefits to speaking. So I would look and see, some of those $5,000 ones, the $7,000 ones. What can you leverage from that? Can you get their mailing list? Because if you've got 20,000 attendees or 8,000 attendees, and you're going to let me hit that mailing list, it might be worth it to me. Are they going to, or maybe they hire you at 7,000 this year, and then a part of the contract is that next year they are also going to have you come speak and pay you 15,000 at that one. I've had situations where we've set it up like that. So it's really about looking and seeing what what other benefit can you get out of it that might be long-term beneficial to your business. I would also say, if you're looking for the more higher dollar amounts, corporations are going to be the best place to start with those. And again, Fortune 500 organizations, they have an allocated budget. I say this because I worked 10 years behind the executive desk of a Fortune 500 organization. So they have the budget allocated to be able to pay for great dynamic speakers, great dynamic workshops. And then also look at the level of your workshops to determine, are my workshops pulling in or able to pull in that amount? Maybe there's some tweaks I can make or things I can change or add that can really level it up.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal advice. Amber, I know you have founded a community, but more than a community and more than an academy, more than a university. You have like this incubator of speakers where you're just excelling them and exalting them into the marketplace. Can you tell us about, number one, the work that you put in, the kind of content that you have in that, what people are going to get of value from that? Can you maybe break us down to your 5-figure speaking academy?
Absolutely. So Five Figure Speakers Academy it's amazing. And I would say that even if it weren't my baby. But so we are going through building your signature speech, how to make it so that it's completely mouth-watering to organizers, how to make it so organizers are reaching out to you. Like all of the speaking engagements I have for 2016, I didn't reach out to them, they reached out to me. So really leveraging your network so that you can get high dollar speaking engagements. We give you the exact methods and resources that my team uses to book high dollar speaking engagements for our clients. I give you the breakdown of what organizers are really looking for and what they're not looking for. We teach you how to build a speaker one sheet, how to build a speaker reel or a promo reel. We teach you what should be on your website. We also have some amazing guest mentors, the talented Mr. Salas being one of them, who's teaching about automation. We have Dr. A.D. Finch, who's teaching about how to leverage your social media platform to get speaking engagements. We have the fabulous actress Kim Coles, who's talking about how to make dynamic speeches so that people are begging you for more. We also have Agnes Kowalski, who is my copy, is going to teach everyone how to write copy on both their speaker one sheet and on their web page so that it is compelling people to set up that initial call with you. So we're going through all of that. And we also just added that we just added a module because I just couldn't stop, about how to set up your own event, how to set up your own retreat, how to set up your own workshops and benefit and get financial gain from them.
That is phenomenal. That's absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, and if you, I'm definitely going to be a part of her speaker academy. But guys, if you don't know who Kim Coles is in our circle and Amber and I's world, Kim Cole is like Kim Kardashian. You know, she's so famous.
Yeah,
everybody knows who she is, and she's getting crazy speaking gigs. So this is a great opportunity to be around Amber Aziza, who's around and behind some of the biggest names in the social media marketing world, some of the biggest influencers. I would even venture to say that by now her reach, outside of herself, her tribe's reach. She builds other tribe leaders. She probably has at least 1 million followers that she's brought up just to other people, just collectively. So if you guys want to, be a part of that, how can we be a part of your 5-figure speaking academy?
So to be a part of 5-Figure Speaking Academy, just go to bit.ly/5-figure speech, all lowercase, and you can join. Tomorrow is the last day to register. We do offer payment plans because I know that we're all ballers on a budget. So I do offer an awesome payment plan for that. I do want to answer the question that was just posted though, because it's a very good question. From TSI Girl, she says, no one gets paid from conferences but the keynote, but would the opportunity to conduct a workshop or breakout for them give them a sense of you for a coming keynote? Yes and no. So here's the deal. With conferences, oftentimes the organizers are not in those breakout sessions. Many times organizers never even see any of the breakout sessions. They're basing it on audience response. So if you are doing it in hopes that someone's gonna book you for the conference, make it the best darn breakout session that you could possibly make, so that when organizers are talking to different people and they're saying, what did you like? They're like, oh my gosh, I loved that workshop that Amber did. It was amazing. It's mind blowing. I learned so much, so that they're remembering it because it was so impactful.
I dig it. Now, was that 5 as a number 5 or 5 all spelled out?
Yes, it's the number 5. And then figure speech, all lowercase.
Cool. I'll be putting that on the show notes. And for those of you guys who are catching this live, tomorrow is the last day. And Amber, you're much like me where we do things like at certain parts of the year. We've got business and other things, and you only do the Speaking Academy at a certain time. This happens to be the time because it's gearing up towards preparation for the peak time of September of October, like we just learned in this broadcast of doing that. So, if you're somebody who's really interested in making that change in your life when it comes to getting speaking gigs, like guys, it's amazing when someone's like, hey, Frank, can you come talk to us for an hour and here's $10,000. That's pretty cool, because for somebody like me who takes those kinds of things, that's usually a Boys and Girls Club in the Latino neighborhood, and I'll get paid for the day or the hour, whatever, but I'll spend the day there. And it's more than just a fee. It's me talking to those kids and saying this, and this. And I haven't done as many corporate gigs as Amber has, but I would love to network with them, go to lunch with them, et cetera, and et cetera. So this has been absolutely phenomenal. If you guys want to make that change in your life right now, make sure you click on this 5-figure speech. And Amber has the best reviews, the best ratings in the industry. She's top notch. Every conference that she's in, she is one of the keynote speakers, guys. So for you to work with her and to have her allow you guys to work on a payment plan, because we're all ballers on a budget trying to save that 4th of July money, that's phenomenal. It's just such an add to the marketplace and such a void in the marketplace. There's so many people, whether you're on Periscope, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, who are like, I'm a speaker and I can teach you how to be a speaker, but they're not getting flown out to Dubai. Is all I'm saying,
Absolutely. And I want to add kind of another random diamond when you said Periscope. Live streaming is a great platform to book amazing speaking engagements. By simply saying how people can get a hold of you during your live streams, that is the perfect way to get amazing speaking engagements, because so many organizers are combing through all of the live streams, Facebook Live, Blab, but what is it, Busker?
Yeah.
I know, Frank, I need to get on it. I know you're going to get after me after this. Periscope, but getting on all of them and really putting yourself out there, letting people know what you're an expert in. I've been able to book speaking engagements without them ever seeing me actually speak in front of an audience. They didn't ask for my speaker reel. They didn't ask for my speaker one sheet. They were just like, how much are you going to charge? I said $25,000 jokingly. And they were like, great. Do you want that in PayPal or you want me to send you a check? So honestly, guys, just from live streaming and having my expertise out there and putting it out there, that's going to be a perfect opportunity for you to book gigs and get the exposure that you need.
That is phenomenal. That's phenomenal. That's all the time that we have today. Amber, I just want to say thank you. It's been a pleasure, truly a pleasure to have you on my podcast. You were the first podcast that I ever did, and now it's coming full circle. So, I've been making some waves because I've been listening to Amber and all those things that she has to provide to the marketplace. So outside of the 5-figure speech, how can people get a hold of you, Miss Amber?
So you are always welcome to email me. I'm not one of those, 7-figure coaches that's like, oh, don't email me. Email me, hello@asquarecoach.com. You can also find me on all social media at Amber_Aziza. And you can find me on Snapchat. Snapchat's the only one that's weird, at Amber Aziza. And that's more the behind the scenes of building my business and living my crazy life. So, but yes, please feel free to reach out to me. I respond to every email. I'm not one of those weird standoffish people. I'll probably talk your ear off. So prepare for that.
Hey, on Snapchat, is it Amber_Aziza or just Amber Aziza?
It's just Amber Aziza, cool. No space or underscore.
Perfect, guys. And her Snapchat's on fire, so make sure you follow her there. And she's also going to be getting on Busker after this call, because as we all know in the Talent Tribe, Busker is a way for you to sell your products and monetize every single live stream, and nobody's on there right now. However, Busker doesn't have funding, and they're shopping their funding as of right now. And today is June 15th, 2016. We wish them luck. And we want to send a big shout out to everybody on Ghost Codes, my boy Frank and Hunter, for allowing us to grow our Snapchat followers organically. If you are not on Ghost Codes, I'm going to leave a link for those of you guys who have joined us live. And there's a complimentary golden nugget. If you'd like to follow me, your boy Frank Salas, also known as the talented Mr. Salas, and be one of the Talent Tribe members, make sure you go to bit.ly/talented one, or go to Facebook and search for Talent Tribe. Amber, I know it's raining out there now, and yes. I know that you just moved. So I just want to say thank you so much for fitting us into your busy schedule. We truly appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you around not only your Speaker Academy, but all the other things you provide to the community. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a beautiful night. Bye.
See ya.